Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sam the SLB, and alongside me today is the man behind the Twitter Wrestling's Voice of Reason, Scott. We come to you from Above the Ring, Ship Series Premier Wrestling Podcast, covering all things from AEW to WWE to Endeavor, TKO, worldwide, coming to you Monday morning, Turner time. It's a little bit of a segue right there immediately about today's topic. There's nothing else that really covers what we want to talk about today. Well, first and foremost, Royal Rumble's in Tampa, folks. Your boy is definitely going to be going. I'm looking forward. It's my first Rumble.
This is your first? Let's go. Yeah.
So, just so you know, Scott, I have never done any of the big five minus Mania. So this is my first Rumble.
Nice.
Maybe I'll weasel in SummerSlam or,
SummerSlam's the only one I have not been to. I checked off Survivor Series last year. Yeah, man. I'm so excited for you. I did not realize this was your first Rumble. Rumbles are so much fun. I think I've been to 3, maybe all of them when they were in Boston. But man, it's in
Tropicana Field, the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
So it's technical. If you want to be technical, it's in St. Petersburg, but it's right over the causeway. So I'm going. Andrew and I have talked. Ashley's definitely going. So it's gonna be a good time.
Nice.
Looking forward to it. So we are now living in, and we've had this talk a bunch of times.
Yep.
Vince McMahon stepping down, Vince McMahon coming back, Vince McMahon leaving here, Triple H we've talked about it. It's happened, but this is the one where Vince really cannot come back from.
Yep.
Kinda. I don't know. So as of this week, what do we say? Tuesday or Monday?
It was after Raw, so I think
it's Tuesday.
Tuesday morning, yeah.
Tuesday morning, it's official. The WWE and UFC have merged, to form the TKO group. Huge deal. A lot to kind of cover on the scope.
Yeah.
As we know, I'll just kind of get into this. We have layoffs going on right now. There's a lot of backdoor, backstage, management, talent, that kind of stuff, which was expected when you're merging a big company, the higher ups.
Yeah.
The only notable one that came up was Dana White, not Dana White. Ultimate Warrior's wife there.
Yes.
It's her name. Her name isn't Dana White, is it? Is it Dana Warrior? Her name is Dana.
Yeah, her first name was Dana. Yeah, she was probably one of the big notable ones that is no longer with the company. It's a bit of a shame. Makes you wonder what they're going to do with the Warrior Award, if they're still going to end up doing it. It's been kind of like the staple for her to come out and be the one to present the award. Whether that's still going to happen, maybe bring it back for the Hall of Fame ceremonies. But other than that, yeah, it's just I feel bad for everybody. Obviously, mergers, when you hear them, you're like, all right, who's getting laid off? That's unfortunately one of the biggest questions that gets asked. There was no talent that was laid off. This was strictly at corporate level. I saw that they actually told everybody to work from home that day so that they could do the layoffs in private, which I think honestly is the best way to go about it. It's also probably the most nerve-wracking because you don't know if if your number is going to get called. So yeah, for I think it was over 100 people. I feel terrible that they lost their jobs. But that's the unfortunate casualty when it comes to a merger. So yeah.
And I did see, and I've seen a bunch of things, whether it's Wrestle Talk or whether it's What Culture, or that there will be talent that will be let go. I know talent is involved; they just haven't gotten to that. I wanted to kind of mention the structure of this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Nick Kahn is going to be the head of WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dana will stick with the head of UFC.
Yep.
And then
I think Vince is like on the
head of the executive board for TKO.
So he has final say on everything for both companies.
So
Dana must be like punching the air right now.
But at the same time, I've also seen things where I think Triple H is no longer involved. Like the creative aspect is a
Yeah.
little,
Yeah, he's still head of creative, but he's no longer on the board of directors,
yeah.
which I guess is fine. That is probably better. That way he can focus more on, the shows and what needs to be done.
And that's fine, Um, okay, before we really dig into this, top down, I mean, stuff like this happens all the time. I'm not going to say this was a bad idea. I'm not going to say this was, the greatest thing to ever happen. We definitely have some talking points. At this point, AEW and like Warner Brothers is like, synonymous.
Yep.
I mean, we were just talking, there are rumors that their deal is going to push to 12 pay-per-views a year.
Yep.
And streaming on Max, which is great.
That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing.
So, granted, AEW is like privately owned.
Right.
They're not owned, but it's, things like this are going to happen all the time. But I'm curious about okay, so this is the thing I'm thinking here that sticks out to my mind, because there were talks about, because they are now one company, they're going to be doing probably more crossovers.
Right.
Which is, again, expected to happen. Or they're really going to push for more revenue. So the thing that stuck out to me was The Rock, okay? I love The Rock. I will never knock when The Rock shows up. I love when The Rock comes out. Obviously, ever since he's came out in the past week, he's like, oh, yeah, we had the 39 match booked.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't come to an agreement or whatever it was. But now we're here, and he's brought up, oh, I would like to fight Roman Reigns again.
Yep.
From a business standpoint, The Rock makes sense. The Rock and Roman at 40 makes sense.
Right. However, this also opens up a little bit more, because do you give The Rock the championship at 40? Or do we have another year of Roman Reigns?
Well, that's the thing. Like, you've been working on this, and especially Roman. I know Roman didn't even know going into 39 he was going to retain the belt, because it sounded like he was a little perturbed, because he's been busting his ass.
Yep.
And again, people are like, oh, cool, they're doing these long runs and this and that. But, when you are the champion, you are the face of the company. You are expected to do more,
right,
than just main event or like show up at every show. I mean, you got to do press conferences. You got to be the fit. You got a lot of other things to do.
Yep.
So from a business perspective, The Rock and Roman would draw. But I mean, you might lose I don't want to say lose, because Roman is pretty much set in stone there, but
right.
I mean, he's going to be burnt out. And never mind the fact that they pretty much, Cody, we get the whole Cody storyline.
Yep. I feel like this was a missed opportunity, and I feel like if they do it at 40, it was a year too late.
There is only one way I think this works, and you might agree with me on this. The only way this works is if you have The Rock and Roman night 1, Cody and Roman night 2. That's the only way this works.
You could do that, actually. Yeah, that would make sense. Like, Cody takes the winner, but then it makes you wonder, though, like, who's going to win the Rumble? Because I don't think it's going to be Cody, because I don't think they're going to do Cody 2 years in a row.
No, I think my thought has been, since Cody lost at 39, if Cody wins, if Cody is going to take the belt from Roman, the Rumble is going to be focused on this new title that Seth has.
Right. That does make sense.
So in that case, I mean, LA Knight,
maybe I think that would be amazing. I know he is a SmackDown guy, but I mean, you could easily move him over if that was the case. There is, of course, the mysterious who gets drafted to SmackDown, because Jey Uso was brought to Raw by Cody Rhodes. Obviously, everybody and their mother is expecting it to be Cody that moves over to SmackDown eventually. That would be the perfect way to finish the story. When that happens, I don't know. They're not going to talk about it. And of course, it's probably going to get buried and everything until probably after the Rumble.
Yeah. And again, the thing I'm getting at here is And this is, I think, what's happened to WWE over the past 20 years is where they became the only company for a long time, and they started, doing things that isolated, I'll say diehards,
Yeah.
Again, I know people who stopped watching WWE after, the wars were over. Nobody, some of them didn't care to watch WWE.
Right.
Whether you liked the WCW product or the ECW product or not, people just didn't care.
Right.
They wanted something
different.
I almost feel if you start doing that, you might sacrifice, again, Scott, you've been invested in this a long time. And all of a sudden, The Rock comes in and then he wins the belt. And then, Cody fighting The Rock
doesn't have the same vibe. It doesn't.
No.
I felt the same way about when The Rock came in and ended CM Punk's title reign. I felt that was a colossal mistake because his match, he did not need to have a title match with Cena. It didn't need to happen later on. It just didn't need to happen. That feud was doing perfectly fine by itself without having a belt. So why not let CM Punk continue to be his champion and then let him have his WrestleMania moment, which I felt at that time he deserved.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. And we all know what happened with Punk after that. But that's another story for another episode. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I feel like the perfect time to strike would have been 39. I personally felt that it was too early for Cody to win the Rumble. Even then, I think this year would have been perfect for Cody to win the Rumble and then challenge Roman Reigns for the title. But they decided to go a different route. They struck when it's hot when it came to Cody coming back from injury, which, I mean, I understand. It makes sense business-wise, but him losing to Roman while it worked in the storyline purpose, I felt like this took a lot of the wind out of the sails of Cody Rhodes. And while, yes, the crowds are still woeing all to death and everything is still great, and I still personally enjoy watching Cody Rhodes wrestle, I always have, I feel like unless they really find a good way to shoehorn this back into him versus Roman, I don't care as much.
Yeah, the only talking point that I could find that would work is the fact that he doesn't have the bloodline anymore.
Right.
That's the only thing that works.
And that would work because, well, I mean, he still has Solo, and until Solo turns on him, he's always going to have that backup. But yes, you're right. The only way Roman's going to lose this title is when he is alone. Like, I don't even think Paul will be there. Like, he'll literally be, like Cody said, the chief on the island without any family, with nobody there, just you. That's how you're going to go down. And I think it's going to be an epic way for him to go down. I just want it to make sense.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Like, WWE for me has always been about how can you drive the story forward. And for a long time, they even lost their way on how to drive stories forward. But recently, they've done a good job of picking up the ball and running with it. So I really hope they find a good way to make this make sense, because otherwise, it's like, why didn't you just do it at 39 then?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And again, I mean, contractual, whatever it might be, but I feel like there's going to be things like this that get shoehorned,
right?
That are going to be, again, these are the negatives. I think there's a huge chance, especially with Vince at the top like this, the fans are may suffer again.
They might.
I don't want to say bad booking, but like, hey, we got a chance to cross promote. We're going to have, I don't know, Conor McGregor come in and wrestle, in, I don't know, for SummerSlam for the belt, and then not see him ever for like another year or two.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like what they're doing with Logan Paul. Like, Logan Paul comes in for a big profile match, then disappears for another, I don't know, 3-4 months, and then pops back in again. If you do that, I think that's fine, as long as they're not winning title belts. They're coming in, they want to have a small feud with somebody. Sure, that's all good. Like his recent stuff with Ricochet, I thought was great. I thought it actually made Ricochet look really good.
Mm-hmm.
Do stuff like that. I'm all for that. You want to put him in Money in the Bank? fine. At least have him have a goddamn qualifying match. That's the one thing that rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, dude, I hate this so much when they just gift somebody a spot in a thing like that. It's like, make them at least earn it. Like they did that for everybody else. You know, it's like there's still like that old Vince stuff that's just there, and I just want to just rip it out and just be like, no, do it this way. Like everything else was done. Do it that way. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you have Rock and Roman, that sounds like a song. No, that's my train of thought. I would love for them to be actually do that at the Rumble. I think that'd be a great thing. But with I don't know, 4 months until the Rumble, don't think The Rock has had enough time to really get in ring shape. So it's probably not going to happen.
No, I mean, unless it's kind of like this is not comparing anybody because I know I'll get my head chewed off. Unless they go the route of like Rock and Hogan, you know, the 5 moves of doom. You know, they're just in the ring and the place goes nuts because they're just there.
Right.
You know, punch, crowd goes nuts. Punch bet or Ultimate Warrior and Hogan. You know, those very simple but crowd deafening respect. That just makes it.
Yeah, give it a good, I don't know, it could be like a 10-15 minute match, but you have like 8 of it be like just the crowd just going absolutely apeshit crazy. Not gonna lie though, I want to see how The Rock sells Roman's spear, because we all know how The Rock sold the Stone Cold Stunner. I can only imagine how this man is going to sell the spear.
Over the top, just
oh my god,
I can see it.
It's gonna be nuts.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a big focal point. That's the only thing I think that's eating at me, because there's a lot of talent here. A lot of people, again, these are people who've done this for their lives.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they're going to move over people who've never been in the ring or are from their other brand who are actual fighters.
Right.
And, some of them are fine, like Shayna Baszler is great.
Yep.
She fits right in. Ronda was good for a little bit.
Yeah.
But you can't just have.
I don't know if they're gonna have that type of level of crossover, because it's funny. Like, if you look at like a standard WWE fan and a standard UFC fan, it's, I don't know, like they're different breeds of people. Like, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just like, if you're a WWE fan, you could be a UFC fan. If you're a UFC fan, more than likely you're probably not a WWE fan, because it's like the realism of the fighting versus the scripted, entertainment.
Oh, 100%. But okay, so this is a good thing that you brought this up, because if you look at something like, and I know The Rock was in wrestling before he was in film, but a friend of mine was telling me that his family doesn't, he has family that doesn't watch wrestling at all. But because The Rock was on SmackDown, they wanted to watch SmackDown. When CM Punk had his UFC fights, like, I knew, the only reason I knew it, and again, I wasn't watching it really when he was in the WWE, but if you were a wrestling fan, you knew that was happening.
Right, exactly. So
that's kind of what I'm getting at. They might be pushing it so you can, bring these other people over and, grow your audience a little bigger, because, hey, there's I'm thinking like is it the Venn diagrams where the 2 circles?
Yes. And the pieces in the middle. Yeah. That overlap.
Where the circles, they might be different sizes, but they're not. They overlap a little bit. They don't fully overlap.
Right.
So they might try. I'm thinking in ways, and again, you can't really do it like you said with UFC. You can't go, hey, LA Knight, we need you to go fight.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, like, I know, like, since they started talking about the merger, like, I've seen, like, on social media, like, they'll have WWE superstars will be doing like promo videos or ad videos for UFC's fights and stuff like that. Like that stuff I can understand. Like, there's a lot of fans of UFC stuff within WWE already. So I mean, that's all good and fine. You want to cross promote that way, that's whatever. But if you're gonna have them go into each other's thing, each other's rings, you need to make it make sense and make sure that they can both do that. Like I could see Shayna go over to UFC, have a fight, and then come back because she has that background. Stuff like that. Make it make sense. Once it makes sense, then I'm completely for it. I'm like, whatever, that's all good and fine. Will I ever really buy a UFC fight? No. Like, I'm not. I respect them and good for them to do that, but I feel like buying a pay-per-view for like UFC, boxing, like anything that has like actual like fighting, the match could be over in 2 seconds, and I paid $70 for that. No,
that was the thing that my father says back in the 90s when he had Mike Tyson. He was the baddest man on the planet.
Exactly.
You buy, you get to the main event, and then boom,
it's over.
Out.
Yeah, it's like I did not want to watch the undercard. Like I came here to watch Mike Tyson beat somebody's face in, but I don't want to pay $70 for it when the match is going to be over in the first round. No,
and now we live in an age where it'll be on YouTube in a week.
Correct. Yes.
You watch like 2 seconds, boom,
and not even a week. Sometimes that night it gets taken down. But if you're lucky enough to watch it, you'll be able to see the whole fight, especially if it's quick.
I've never been somebody who's been into like real fighting. Like there's something. Especially boxing, where your purpose is to knock the individual out.
Right.
I've never. It's not my forte, and I know I'm not the only person who thinks that. There are going to be people who do watch wrestling who will be like, "Oh, I know, but I love boxing. I love watching."
Yeah, and that's great. Yeah, good for them. Like it's just for either of us, it's not something like if it's on like I know that sometimes they put it on Fox and stuff like that. Like I'll throw it on and I'll be like, holy shit! Like some of the stuff that they do to one another, it's like, all right, that's ouch. That's some legit shit. But it's like I'll never buy a pay-per-view for it because like logistically, I feel like it's almost a waste of money because some of these fights end so quickly, and it's like now they have to like overload the cards to try to make it worth it. So that's fine. But I looked at wrestling as like, okay, I'm paying, or at least before, paying $50, or even for like AEW now, pay $50 for the show. I'm going to get 3 to 4, maybe 5 hours of actual wrestling. That's going to go the entire time. So it's worth the money. And the talent is normally really, really good. So I'm getting my money's worth after like the first 3 matches. And the rest of it's
and if there is that squash, that, okay, this for whatever reason, this is gonna have something going down the line. So in like 3 months, 6 months, you'll be able to go, well, we're at this point now.
Yeah, I think like the most high profile squash that you talk about was when we went to Double or Nothing with Wardlow and MJF. Like that for me was like the most satisfying squash I think I've ever watched in my entire life. And being
especially since MJF canceled his Access appearance.
Right, exactly. Yeah, all the drama circling around it was even, that was, oh man. And that crowd reaction too, when he first came out, man.
I can't even, I know there are people who are mad about that. And I'm like, he had balls to pretty much, I'm going to just return everyone's money and make this storyline work and get people pissed. Like,
the man lives the gimmick.
Or I think of, another good one that I remember. Remember when Goldberg came back?
Yes.
And then you're like, Goldberg's going to come. And there is a little bit of, you can't use Goldberg all the time when he does come out. Right. But I remember when he came back and he beat the snot out of Brock Lesnar. And up until Brock is the man. Nobody does this to Brock.
Right.
Even now. Like, Brock doesn't lose too often.
No.
So, like, to see Goldberg do that, especially if I recall, those first few matches back, he didn't look horrible.
No, he didn't.
No. But yeah, with UFC, I mean, all the not that they are, but all the matches could end up like that. And then you got you paid what, $50 for 2 hours, maybe?
Right.
Maybe. But I don't know. I'm interested to see, especially with Vince being on the top again. I know there's concerns.
Yeah, there's always concerns when Vince is involved nowadays.
Well, okay, let's NXT was done. Was that pre-taped or is that live still?
It's a little both
Okay.
nowadays.
So let's focus on SmackDown. SmackDown this week was the first TKO show, and they delivered.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm. And I want to let me put the. You knew they were taking John Cena out. You know they were taking The Rock out.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the appearances, like, did the product just like? Was there a noticeable difference in the rest of the product aside from those two appearances?
No,
Was it still top tier?
Yeah, SmackDown's been top tier for quite a while, and it just still stayed on that. Like it's the crowd was still hyped for everybody else. Obviously, like I mentioned on Power Slam, if you didn't watch that, go back on YouTube and watch that. The crowd was super hot, obviously still for LA Knight, and for the rest of the crew. So it's good. Like even like the whole 2 hours they were hot. Even for Cena coming out at the end. It's funny when Cena was making his entrance, he kind of like took a moment and stopped and was kind of looking at the crowd and then turned to Stu, the cameraman, and goes, "They still have energy for me. I love this." I was like, yes.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, that could change. Hopefully, it doesn't change because I know
Right.
SmackDown has just been. I know when John went to the one in Providence, he said it was like an all right. But I looking back now, that seemed like one that Vince was very involved in.
Well, that and I believe like 3/4 of the staff was over in India because they were doing
Oh
uh,
yeah.
they were doing their special show over there. So and they were I think in the middle of flying back. So you lose all those people. You kind of have to go with your backups and run those stories and stuff like that. And of course, not everybody went. Cody obviously was there, and so
Jim J, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, you had some people there. I kind of feel bad for John though. Like he went to probably the worst, not the worst show, but like the less star-studded show. And then of course, when The Rock comes out, he's blowing up our group chat, going 1 effing week. I'm so sorry.
Do you think he would have come out? Him and John Cena would have come out if this merger didn't happen?
I know Cena would have. Honestly, I believe the both of them were there because the strike's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
you got that
otherwise,
yeah.
otherwise they're both tied up in movies or shows or doing something else, like not being there.
Well, I only asked because you look at the timing of this. It wasn't the week before.
Right.
It's not like a month or two down the road. It wasn't 6 months ago. It was literally the first show.
Yeah.
Under the TKO brand.
Right. And I feel like they would have done what they did anyways. They just went all, guns a-blazing. Let's let this just explode. And that's exactly what happened. Like if you watch the first 20 minutes of SmackDown, that's a win. Like you even said, people who don't even watch wrestling, oh, The Rock's gonna be on. Yeah, I'll turn it on for the first 20 minutes, watch the segment, and then be like, then you can dip. Whatever. We still got you. Maybe you'll like what happened to Austin Theory and you want to stick around and watch his ass get beaten more often.
Same thing with John Cena,
Exactly. I mean, I love what Grayson Waller has been doing. He annoyed the absolute shit out of me in NXT. Like, and I mean that in the best way possible, because when you're a heel and you annoy me, someone who's watched wrestling for 30 years, you're doing your job right. And I have to give him the greatest amount of kudos for this. But his Grayson Waller effect show has been amazing. Like every person he's had on there has been like megastars or Hall of Famers and stuff like that. And Grayson can hang with them verbally, and it's wonderful to see. Like they're giving, even though he calls it the Grayson Waller rub, it's really obviously the other way around. And it's just they're doing such a great job with Grayson. And I feel like you get him to wrestle more. Like this man could be top tier heel work for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and of course you have a whole bunch of people behind them in NXT the same way, like Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker as a heel. Holy shit. Where like this man has the best spear in the business, like maybe ever. And I'm like, I've been shouting the Rhino's gore from the top of the mountaintops as being the best spear that's ever happened. Bronze, this man is shot out of a cannon. I swear to God, it's just he flies and just takes people out. It's amazing. Like we talk about, I joked about Roman, how The Rock would sell Roman's spear. How the hell would The Rock sell Braun's spear? I feel like Rock's head would start rolling up the ramp because
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be opportunity. One of the ones we're going to talk about, and I don't know because I remember when she initially talked to WWE that it wasn't good. She didn't like the way she was approached. But it sounds like Jade Cargill might be making her way over there.
I mean, it's definitely possible. If you go back and I know you said you haven't watched Rampage yet, but the match that she had with Chris Statlander, I believe, honestly, the best match she's ever had in AEW. And I thought that it was great. Like I did a good job of avoiding spoilers, so I didn't want to see who won. I had a feeling that Chris would win, but I would not have been upset if Jade won. But yeah, I mean, Jade she kind of like went out on her shield, took the loss, and then they embraced in the ring a couple times, which was kind of like, obviously it's outside of what Jade normally does, but I felt like this could have been the goodbye, like to have her just go off and into the sunset. If she shows up on WWE product, a lot of people are saying she would go right to the main roster. I think that would. It's like for me, I think it's a 60-40 thing. I think 60% would be great, 40% maybe she needs more seasoning. And I only say seasoning because WWE has their own style and they like things to be done a certain way because they feel that that's how it sells best on television. And we all know Jade is still green, very green. How long she's going to be in the business, we don't know. I know that was the whole thing, like you mentioned about how she was approached previously, and she did not like that because WWE likes you to dedicate your life to them and nothing else matters. And this isn't, the Metallica songs, just literally nothing else matters. And obviously she has a young child that didn't fly. She went to AEW and did what she did in AEW, became a megastar, and like the crowd was definitely pumped to see her come out. It was great to see. But yeah, going forward, I don't know. Like I'm always weary of people going directly to the main roster unless they're an established superstar like AJ Styles.
AJ Styles, yeah.
He's always going to be that line. Like, are you better or worse than AJ Styles when he showed up in 2016? I don't know. If not, go to NXT for a little bit, fine tune yourself, even if it's a quick stop, and then come back up to the main roster.
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing. That's what I like about some of this. I don't say younger talent, but some of the talent who started in NXT, they're still going back. They're going back, like Becky. Becky just went back and won the women's title. Yep. No shame to go back and win what's considered the lesser world title at in the brand.
Yeah, the developmental title. Yeah, and honestly, I felt like it was a shame that Becky never won that title when she was in NXT the first go around. I mean, she was. I feel like out of the four horsewomen I feel like maybe she was when they first all appeared on television. I think she was maybe I don't want to say the worst out of the four, but she wasn't as well. She wasn't as well known, I would think, out of the four. Like it wasn't until Becky had her match with Sasha Banks down in NXT when Sasha was champion that Becky really made a name for herself, and then kind of grew from there. And then after that, it was just like the rocket was strapped and off she went. But yeah, for her to come back and finish the Grand Slam championship, and now I don't know how long she's going to have it. I feel like this also really gave Tiffany Stratton, the now former champion, a big rub. It's funny, like I was watching the match and then going on, obviously on X, I hate saying it. Later, there were people talking about how you could see Becky like being the ring general in this match and showing things and doing stuff, and like there was a part where the crowd was chanting, this is awesome, and Tiffany started getting up to do something, and Becky, you can actually watch, like I missed it the first time, but I went back and somebody had it on social media where you could see Becky go to Tiffany and say, lay down, enjoy this, slow down. And so Tiffany does this one thing, she hits her, and then she kind of just falls down back on the ground. The crowd just is going crazy. So it's like you see her just doing work and teaching the young kids how to slow down a little bit, because NXT sometimes can go super fast, and sometimes that's great, but other times if the crowd is really into it and they're chanting that stuff, it's great that you have somebody to be like, dude, slow down, chill, enjoy this, soak it in, make it, it's good. I feel like Tiffany is going to be a big deal on the main roster when they finally have her go up. Whether she takes the title back from Becky, because I don't expect Becky's reign in NXT to last for a very long time, because I feel like that eventually will do damage to the brand, because she does not need to be down there.
No.
So, I mean, you have certain people like, Mustafa Ali kind of like re-energizing himself down there. Drew Gulak, same thing. They're in the storylines, they're doing good stuff. They're not going to hurt the brand if they end up being champions going forward. That's fine. Becky, I feel like, yeah, this is great. You check it off the list. Have her put over somebody. Maybe not at No Mercy. Maybe at the next one. Who knows? But don't have her hold this all the way until Stand and Deliver. Don't do it. She could be on Raw doing better things.
Yeah. I mean, hopping back to Jade, I think.
I know. I'm sorry. I went off on a tangent there.
No, that's perfectly fine. I think with Jade, I think she spent some time at the Performance Center. And then she can if she goes NXT, I don't think she needs to be there long.
Right, exactly, yeah.
If you want to just tune her a little bit, give her a couple of months, and then send her to the main roster.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't think she needs to be fine-tuned like some other people. So again, as the anti-W, okay, I'm gonna word this in a way that only offends one group of people. Because I don't want to say this is the WWE stance, because plenty of people in WWE who love WWE, prefer it over AEW, will still watch AEW because there's things about it they like. Right. Same thing AEW. So the anti-AEW people, despite what they think about them not being able to create their own talent, there is talent that they've created.
Absolutely.
That does stick out. Jade is one of them. Despite whether you like her or not, Jade is one of them. Jade can go get that pop. Jade's been there for a bit. Jade can have that star power. So I think they've done a good enough job with her to send her to NXT for even the main roster. Again, but spend some time in the Performance Center, get that WWE polish on you, because WWE wants her a certain way.
Oh yeah,
in the ring. I mean, this is gonna piss some people off, but I think Orange Cassidy's another one. Orange Cassidy, he has become such a huge star.
Yep.
And shown his worth, where if that day ever came. Now, I don't know how you would bring him into WWE with his wrestling style.
I mean, he's unique enough where I think it could work, but again, it needs to work in a certain parameter. They can't have him just come in, do the sloth style, and then immediately change the WWE style. It won't work because that's not him.
I think with him, you could, and I'm gonna do some fantasy polishing, if you will. Here's if you took Orange Cassidy and decides, hey, I'm gonna go sign with WWE. I do like the sloth, the whole sloth style thing is funny.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's, I think WWE could polish him up to be more of a stick with the I don't really care to be here kind of attitude. And kind of you change it to like, not where he's like a slow wrestler, but like the kicks. The kicks are the most famous. Yep. You could WWE, I think, could polish it up where it'd be like one of those more mocking, rather than him being like, oh, I'm slow. It's more of a, oh, I'm just gonna kick you to mock you. More maybe borderline anti-hero or something like that.
But would that work for Orange?
I think you might, but then you could still, again, he can do everything. He can do the haha, but he could also go one-on-one with Ricochet.
Right. Man, oh man.
Or like, I mean, I don't care what anyone says. When he wrestled Jon Moxley at All Out.
Yeah.
And again, this is going to hurt people. But like, you could probably put him against like Roman and have a decent match. Get the L. But like, those are the things he's good at. I think what I'm saying is that I think he could be polished.
Yeah.
because he can pretty much. I think that's pretty much what his gimmick is. He can do anything.
Yeah.
But AEW has made their own stars.
Yes.
I think Jade is one where she doesn't need to go and get the full WWE. They just need to, the spit shine. Shine up and
spit shine. There it is.
Off to Monday.
Yep.
So I think that would be a good, and especially with the Endeavor deal. All right. If they're really going to try to attract people and bring in people who don't wrestle, they're signing less independent wrestlers,
right,
and bringing in their own homegrown talent or natural athletes.
Right.
That's the thing. She's a natural. What is she? Was she in the WNBA? I think. I could be wrong.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Um,
Like she fits their next in line perfectly.
I think she could boom.
Yeah.
I think the Endeavor era would be the Jade era in WWE.
It's funny that you actually mentioned the next in line stuff and stuff like that. They're actually they're starting this in NXT. They're bringing up, and I forgot to mention it on Power Slam, but they're bringing back the women's NXT breakout tournament where you have 8 newer stars that come in and the winner gets a title shot. I think of their well, obviously it'll just be the women's title because they don't have a mid-card women's title in WWE. Maybe Jade's the one to bring it in. If Jade ends up being in that tournament, obviously she'll challenge, but I think like if you want to give a women's mid-card title, I think Jade would be the perfect person to start it with, like they did in AEW. Like the TBS title means something. And to have someone like Chris Statlander take it and run with it after that, I think that title is actually elevated really high. And you have people like Britt Baker going after it now. You're giving it even more legitimacy, which is great to see. So I think, I would love to see Jade be one of those 8. Whether she is or not, I don't know. But we'll see.
So let's hop back over quickly to the board. I think this is important here. Vince McMahon is the executive chairman. So I have the wiki page up. He is the executive chairman on the board. Ari Emanuel is the CEO. They're owned by Endeavor Group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also reading that Vince McMahon, his seat on the his seat has veto power.
Correct.
Do you how involved is Vince get again?
It depends. It honestly truly depends because Vince has been in the weeds for so long and he took a step back for, he claims for retirement reasons, but I think everybody and their mother knows that it was really because of the whole scandal.
Yeah.
And then that kind of went away and Vince stepped back into power, and we definitely saw in the product end how that suffered for a little bit. And then Triple H took back over, and then the product started going back up. And then, of course, the one last hurrah before he leaves is he brings Nia Jax back into the fold. But yeah, I don't know. It's Vince. The man's been doing this stuff his entire life, so who knows how deep he wants to get back into the weeds, at least on the WWE side. I feel like if he starts vetoing stuff that Dana White wants to do on the UFC side, I think Dana might have some problems with this, if he doesn't already. But I don't know. Like it's also kind of funny to realize that I believe if the structure works the way I think it does, that Dana has to report to Vince at some point, being on the board. But yeah, I don't know. It's
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
Because I'm looking here. Oh, where'd it go? I just saw it. Again, I'm just going over the wiki. This has just kind of Endeavor has 51%, Vince McMahon has 16.4%. And Endeavor is owned by Ari Emanuel. So I'm really curious. Because don't get me wrong, let's clarify something here. Vince McMahon is a smart man. Cynical as shit.
Yep.
He does what Vince wants, but there's a lot of things he's done that again he has created made the WWE what it is today. He's made professional
Correct.
sports entertainment what it is today.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see where this goes. But yeah, aside from that, Endeavor could, this isn't him. This isn't him with Mac. He doesn't even have maximum I'm really curious to see how this all plays out.
Yeah. I also, it's funny too, because I always expected WWE to go to the next line, like whether it was going to be Shane or whether it was going to be Stephanie. Now it doesn't go anywhere. Like the whole McMahon family, like there's no more. Like Steph's not even with the company anymore. Shane's not with the company anymore. So both McMahon kids are gone. Linda obviously left a long time ago. It's just Triple H, and obviously he's just there via marriage, and he's head of creative. So it's like, where does this go? Like, part of me has that little bit of a fear of what happened with AOL, Time Warner, and WCW. Like they'll eventually just scrap it, and I hope that's not the case. And of course, that's just me reliving the Monday Night Wars and how that all ended poorly. I don't think that Endeavor will do that because they seem to be legitimate fans, and Vince having a decent amount of power, I'm pretty sure he's not going to want to, kill everything. He has turned a $1 million company into a $9.5 billion company now.
And now I think the merger made him like $21 billion or something.
Like the amount of money some of these people got paid out for the merger is just insane. And like half of that list they talked about are no longer with the company. They left with the merger. So like here's a $12 million payday for, I forgot his name, but he was one of the guys that was, integral of getting Vince back onto the board of directors. Here's $12 million. Get the F out. Okay. Bye.
And looking at this, Endeavor owns, it also represents NFL and NHL. Endeavor represents artists in film, television, music, theater, digital media, and publishing. So they have a talent agency.
Yep. Or
were a talent agency. Endeavor owns professional bull riders too. Oh, that's an interesting one.
Very. That stuff's actually some entertaining shit. No, I'm not gonna lie. I've watched that back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think they'd scrap this is it almost looks like it's become a fighting brand company.
Right. And honestly, that's perfect. It works out perfectly fine.
This isn't, when Vince goes, I would be curious to see what happens.
Right. Who gets brought in? I would hope Triple H.
Mm-hmm. But who knows? Again,
exactly. Who knows?
Because I saw something against Stephanie. Stephanie was offered to come back.
Yeah.
And I think she just didn't even, doesn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we could make assumptions all day.
Right.
I don't know if I don't know if this has put a bad taste in her mouth.
I mean, there was a whole lot of rumors of her and her father obviously not getting along and stuff like that. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it or people just throwing that around. There's a lot of different things, but I think Steph's in a much better place mentally, not having to deal with all the bullshit that happens in a daily WWE day. So,
well, same thing with Shane. I mean, Shane just it is. I mean, good thing for Triple H, as you can tell, the curtain call, he played the long game.
Right.
Yeah. It'd be funny. I keep playing it in my head, and I know it would drive everyone up a whirlwind if it was like Tony was like, I need help getting things organized on my end. Brings in Stephanie or Shane, and then reorganizes that locker room.
Oh my God. That would be,
I don't know if it'd work. That's what I'm not saying it would work if it happened. Right. But could you imagine what would happen?
God, the internet would explode. Oh my God.
Well,
wow. Yeah. That'd be something. But I also feel like that would be an instant declaration of war.
It's like the last episode of Nitro, but
right.
For real.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
AEW gets sold to a McMahon. but it's not Vince McMahon. It's Shane McMahon. God.
Man. Yeah, this has now become a chess game and to see what's going to happen. Because again, we still have talent that they're going to release, and who knows who they're going to release.
Yeah, I hope not, but they are a bloated roster on even having 3 brands. Actually, technically they have others with like
Main event,
Main Event and NXT
Level Up.
Level Up and stuff like that. So they have the space to put people, but there's still going to be that talent that either just isn't cutting it, or they're on the main roster and they don't need to be. So I don't know. I have a few names in my head that I think might be on chopping block, but we'll see.
I know it's not Nia Jax. So another thing I actually want to talk about, because I think at the end of the year, the Fox deal comes up.
Correct. Yes.
And I know there were rumors that Amazon and Disney are like top contenders.
Yep.
Do you think we see them end the Fox deal?
They're asking for a boatload of money, and I don't remember the exact figure, but I think honestly Fox would be a fool to turn this down. I think if Disney were to grab it, then you could maybe see them on what, ABC,
FX,
ESPN, FX. Yeah, if they put them on FX, that actually might be terrible for Fox because not a lot of people get FX. If you put them on like the primary channel, I think that would be fantastic. But then they got to change their whole setup for cable and whatnot.
ABC would make sense.
Yeah, you have to put them on a prime channel. Like Fox has been pulling in 2.5-3 million pretty much every single week, being on Fox. So you have to put them on a main show. If you put them behind cable again, not a lot of people watch cable anymore. So
now I don't even. I mean, when I was watching SmackDown, the only reason we watched SmackDown was because we didn't have cable.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why you need to put them on a main channel that's not tied behind cable. Which is why it amazes me that they've kept Raw on USA Network for so long and now put them on a network.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's, I mean, it could be the ad revenue. I saw the reason why they put them on ABC. I think was it the ad revenue was greater?
Probably, yeah.
Something like that. If they took that, but that could change everything too.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on ABC. If you go on ABC,
right.
I think every house in the known universe has ABC.
Yeah. You have to have, well, you don't have to have local channels, but the majority of people want their local channels. So I think, yeah, ABC would be a perfect fit for them. I don't even know what they have on Friday nights. So you could just slide them right in. So hey, there you go. Sorry for whatever currently plays on 8 to 10 p.m. on Fridays on ABC. I'm not watching you, so it doesn't matter.
And that's the other thing. Would they move? Would they stay on Fridays? Friday seems to be the safe bet at this point.
Yeah, they've been pretty much every other day of the week. I think it's maybe besides Wednesdays, but they've been Thursday. And Monday, obviously, because Raw's there. But yeah, they've been Tuesday, they've been Thursday, they've been Friday. I mean, hell, you could even put them on a weekend. Even though I think a weekend might be a disaster because most people are not watching television on a weekend. But yeah, I don't know. Either way, I think that if they go with Disney, there's definitely ways for it to work. With Amazon, though, where the hell would they stream? Amazon doesn't own TV channels, do they? Like, would they just go to Amazon Prime, which I think would be horrible, even though I know most people have Amazon Prime, but
let's see.
I don't want them to be streaming for a television show. Like, they should be on a channel. Maybe that's just the old man in me going, yelling at the clouds and shit like that. But
well, if anything should be streamed, just put NXT back on there. Not that I want to disown NXT.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you could. I mean, I think with Becky coming down there, their average was 850K, which is the highest since 2020.
Yeah.
So obviously you're bringing in people, but yeah, I don't know. Tuesday night's also a weird night for TV. Also, like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I'm really curious. Again, chess game. I mean, it might not change, but I mean, could you imagine if they did tie with Amazon or Disney? Disney would be enough. I mean, if they want to make money, not that they couldn't with Amazon,
Right.
but you could really kill that younger demographic with
Yep.
Disney.
It also makes you wonder, do they move the, and also, why isn't NBC in this? Hello, Peacock. Why isn't NBC in this? Like,
Oh, yeah, there we go.
like, do you move everything to Disney Plus? Like all the pay-per-views and shit? Do you do that? Do you keep it with Peacock? I don't know how long the deal is. Do you bring back the WWE Network? Please, please, God, bring that back. I miss that thing so much. Oh God. But all right, I'll get off my soapbox for a second.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. They should have never gotten rid of that, honestly, because it's just a nightmare. Granted,
It's gotten better. It's gotten much better than what it used to be, especially in the beginning. Oh dear Lord.
well, what I loved about the network, it was so segmented where I could find anything by year. I could find it by pay-per-view. I could find it by, is it WWE or non-WWE?
Right.
You know, it was so broken. It was so easy. And now to find anything on Peacock, it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm happy they have their own channel on Peacock, but it's like, even still, like the searching and everything is just abysmal. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Even to this day. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, we're gonna wrap up here in a minute. And I know we weren't gonna talk about this after our last podcast, but I think this is a talking point that just needs to be addressed. And I think you're gonna hear the ATR take on this, because I think from what I've been told, we had a pretty fair take on the topic in general. So this past weekend, we had Mr. CM Punk himself, Phil Brooks, make an appearance in CFFC in North Dakota in an MMA fight. Pretty much said he has a lot of free time in the next 2 months.
I did see that.
So 2 months from now is going to be November. It's going to be SummerSlam, Survivor Series. To which Nick Kahn had come out. We're gonna interpret this. I want to get your take on it. I'll give you my take, because there's a lot here. It's just there's so much in between here.
Yeah.
So Nick Kahn, when actually, I think this was out before he made this statement.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So Nick Kahn originally said, "Listen, we only have respect for Phil. We appreciate his run here. We appreciate what he did and tried to do with the UFC. Not many people can actually get in there and do what he did. So when we have respect for Phil, we wish him nothing but the best."
Yep.
So two takes here. He does mention UFC. He does mention this. We do have Survivor Series coming up in November.
Mm-hmm.
However, Nick Khan's take, to me, that's the response I've always gotten when I've been denied a job interview or a job from an interview.
Yep.
We wish you nothing but the best. We really appreciate you coming in here. Da, 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 da.
Yep.
Which thoughts, Scott?
I agree with you when it comes to what Nick Kahn said. Like, I think I posted this in our chat, and I was like, this is the most polite FU statement I've ever read in my entire life. With everything that's happened around Punk, he's had issues in ROH. He's had issues in WWE, and obviously the issues now in AEW. Does WWE want to bring that back into the fold, even in a minor capacity? I don't know. Maybe out of spite, to try to get whatever he can out of AEW, you give him a live mic, you put him out there and let him talk for 20 minutes. He could unravel everything that happened over in AEW. Don't know. Part of me kind of wants to hear that, because Phil could definitely talk on the stick, and I'm completely okay with listening to it. The other half of me is like, do we want to deal with the backstage possible bullshit that happens? Because from at least on the outside looking in, I'm not an insider. One day, maybe I hope to be. That'd be great. But I don't know. I assume that the inner workings of WWE shows, talent's cool with one another. There's no bickering really. There's no bitching. There's no fighting. I haven't seen anything come out. But again, that's WWE style. They lock up everything and you don't find out shit until months and months later. AEW, obviously, we found out about shit that night, and then it's just kind of gone from there. So there's no filter to the outside world, which I don't know what's better. Honestly, like it's been great tidbits for us to hear all this shit that's happening, so we get to talk about it. And on the same side, on the other end, it's like it's nice to see that nothing really bad is happening that's been coming out on WWE's side outside of the Vince stuff. But
the pro is it's always looked professional.
Correct. They
The
definitely
con
know how
is
to keep
when
it.
stuff has gotten out, it's led us to where we are today, where people won't touch the product anymore. I mean, again, Eric Young, he signed with WWE, and the moment Vince came back, he was just like,
I'm out.
cut it.
Yep.
I'm out.
Yep.
So it is a double-edged sword. Same thing with AEW. I mean, AEW, it's cool that, okay, we hear this now. It's out there. But at the same time, you're like, oh, don't look that professional.
Right. Exactly. And for me, when it comes to like company side of things, I tend to lean more towards the professional side of things. Yeah,
Yes.
there could be problems behind the closed doors, but they're behind the closed doors and they'll get dealt with and then things will move on. AW is like a free-for-all on the backstage of stuff. And I know John's obviously been on singing this, this tune forever that Tony needs to tighten up the reins and get people that can keep control of things. And yeah, there are particular wrestlers that back there I could probably see Samoa Joe is one of those guys that will try to keep the peace, but some stuff's outside of his control. Obviously, this whole thing with Jack Perry and with CM Punk and that nonsense that happened that we'll never hear the truth of what happened. Just like with the brawl out and stuff like that, or brawl, whatever the hell they call it. Yeah, I don't know. It's
well, the big, again, I'm gonna hop back to we're gonna pull a Tarantino and go back to the beginning of this episode. They pulled out all the stops for this first SmackDown.
Correct.
They have The Rock, they have John Cena. From the business perspective, it almost seems stupid not to.
Right.
Because people are gonna watch if he shows up.
For a business sense, yeah, absolutely. But do you then turn around and bring him out on Raw? Or do you leave all the big stuff for SmackDown?
I don't know. And again, I mean,
not gonna lie, if Raw kicks off and then I hear Cult of Personality, the WWE version, the first thing, nothing else will be happening in my local area. It will literally just be like, all right, I got 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I'm not doing anything but listening to CM Punk. Phone's going on silent, not doing a damn thing. What is this man gonna say?
Yeah, I think everyone's going to want to hear it.
Yeah.
And, whether you want to agree with him, whether you want to support him unconditionally, whether you want to disagree with him, people are going to listen.
Right.
I'm curious.
Yeah. It's
oh, yeah, we forgot the most important part. Survivor Series is in Chicago. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
that can't possibly mean anything's going to happen.
Yeah, so.
Jesus Christ.
Well, and again, we can tear this apart all day. Business-wise, it's good, but then would they have problems with him? And if WWE is if they handle things professionally and somebody is a problem, again, I'm not sitting here saying he is.
Right.
But if he is a problem, how are they going to stop that from happening? Right. Especially, keep in mind, and this is the argument that a lot of people make, he's a senior member, people should be listening to him. He's been in the business for a while. Okay, well, when he was in WWE, he didn't.
Right.
He was the Punk.
Right.
So you go from somebody we should listen to him because he doesn't respect authority to he is.
Now he is the authority.
Now he is the authority. He is the senior member.
Yep.
It's
funny. Like I always like when people make that statement. It's like, yeah, it kind of reminds me of Randy Orton's career. How he was the legend killer. Now he's a legend. And Randy also, again, huge troublemaker in the beginning of his career. Now he's like one of the most like
respected. And
correct. Yes. So it's like, obviously I know there's two different parallels between those two, but it's like, it's funny how that works, how it comes around.
Yeah.
I think I kind of wish Phil took Randy's route of things, where stuck around and kind of played ball and try to make things work. But again, we don't know how the back things. We all know Randy is Triple H's boy, so Triple H would do anything for that man. So I know him and Phil had their issues when they were both competitors. So I don't know. They say there's no bad blood, but is there no bad blood? I don't know if I believe that.
Again, I will, outside of a handful of people, FTR, Andrade, there might have been a couple others, but none of the veteran WWE guys who are in AEW have come out.
Right.
And maybe that's a professional thing. Maybe that's we're not going to get involved.
Right. Which probably is for the best.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I figured it's an interesting quote. And again, we got 2 months.
Yes.
We're going to see what happens in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
whether it happens or not, it happens. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, here we go. The beginning of the Endeavor era. Guys, follow us on YouTube. That's where we're primarily at this point. Actually, you know what? While we're here, before we do sign off, one more thing. There is going to be a change in format. We've been doing live streams. We might not do those too often, but Scott and I will be stepping back from the live tweeting.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be obviously watching the shows. You might see a tweet from Scott and I here and there. But due to our change in format and what we're trying to focus on, we will remain on X. We will be on X. You'll hear from us. Feel free to reach out, whatnot. But the live tweets, unless it's a pay-per-view, will be almost non-existent.
Yep.
So figured I'd bring that up now. Totally forgot about that until just now. But follow us on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review, tell people at Ship It Studios and Above the Ring is a podcast wrestling show of your choosing, and they should listen to us as well. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to ship it. And as always, do not forget to join the Bedlam.